Bob is a very intense individual, and you learn that right away when you meet him. He's always thinking about new ways to do things, and never satisfied with the status quo.
He's not afraid to be a pioneer. He is, at his best, pioneering.
He's a brilliant strategist. He's a brilliant economist. He's a brilliant planner.
Probably one of the quickest minds I've ever met. The quickest minds I've ever met. You're about to meet a force of nature.
Quiet, determined, a risk taker, someone with great creative talent, and who wants to raise the bar here in Portland on design and architecture.
I am fulfilled by these buildings. So this place and what we did here has been the most fulfilling thing I've done in this career. While I was in high school, I got interested in science and was an advanced placement science student in chemistry and biochemistry as a senior at Lincoln. And my intention at that time was to either become a research scientist or a physician. It never even occurred to me that business or any aspect of business was in my future. My love of the Northwest and Oregon must have begun when I was born, because in my early days, in my childhood, I remember being outdoors a lot. Our family spent all of their vacation times in the summer times camping. I do remember that Diana did a lot of hiking and camping with me when we were first married. And, well, on our honeymoon, I took her steelhead fishing and we went drifting on the Nestucca. The only unfortunate thing I did is that she hooked into a steelhead and I was concerned whether she could handle it, and I asked her to give me the pole, and that was a mistake.
I had never had one on like this before, and he was convinced I wouldn't know what to do, so he took the pole from me, and then in the process the boat rocks, we lose an oar, we're roaring down this stream that is rain swollen, and he is yelling at me, grab a branch, and I'm thinking, that's not what you do. You don't grab a branch on the shore. He nearly killed us. He nearly killed us.
Well, Mark Edlin has a great line that he uses. I'll repeat that. He says, our company was formed by one tall, bald guy and one short, bald guy. Bob is the tall, bald guy.
The time that I truly remember is when we walked into his office and he laid out the brewery blocks in a model. And I said, oh my God.
You know, you talk to most people about whether or not the idea had any validity, and the initial reaction was, you've got to be a little off your rocker to consider that that could possibly come together.
The brewery was here. These were old, big concrete buildings that had beer in them, or vats where they were making beer. We'd stand on the 6th floor of Wieden and Kennedy and smell hops and look down at this, and we just realized it wasn't going to stay there forever because it's right in the middle of downtown.
The $700,000 smokestack. We tried so hard to figure out ways to use that smokestack constructively, but we knew we had to keep it, so we did. And it doesn't have too many functions, but it's part of the historic fabric of the building, and without it, the building wouldn't be the brew house. So it's there, and it's sturdy.
When I think back about how he described it, I can go down and walk on the street today, and it's exactly what he described. You know, it's this dynamic, energetic, mixed use environment that people are just happy to be around. It's chaotic. It's just an incredible space to be in.
Yeah, well, it was basically insanity. It was a little bit of insanity that Dan Wyden initiated.
Biggest challenge I've ever had. One of the most exciting experiences and frustrating and difficult experiences of my career. Worked with a Medici and a genius architect. A Medici owner and a genius architect.
I mean, I had a 3-person office, myself and 2 University of Oregon graduates. That was my office. And he handed me a $30 million project. So it was crazy from the start, you know, whether we could pull it off, how we'd pull it off, and then with some very, very high architecture aspirations. So it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts.
As we saw people start to move in and use it and how the spaces were, then we became more appreciative of the pain the entire team went through to get to this successful end. But it took so much vision, and again, so many times Bob had to re-coach us, re-motivate us, bring us back together, because it seemed like getting through each week or each month was just, you know, it was frustrating.
So much energy. I think that's why there's so much energy in that building, and it's really a result of all of our energies, I think, and the kind of, you know, complete faith we put into that project from the start.
For me, and I know for Mark and for our company collectively, the question of doing sustainable work and green buildings, if you want to call it, that is a spiritual question. It's doing what is right. The Pacific Gas Transmission Building was the first building that we could start from scratch with the total commitment of the design team and owners, financiers, to do the most energy efficient building possible to build. So it was tremendously exciting to work on how the building had to be designed, how it was positioned. The glazing of the windows is different on all sides. The shapes of the building, it's not just a box, there are curves, and there are things about the way the building is built that have all to do with sunlight and when and how the sun strikes at different times of the year.
We built 242 apartments here, and this is the second level. It's a patio deck for the residents to use, and at the same time it's a bioswale. So you can see all these grasses here, the trees. The stormwater is filtered through these plantings here and purified before it goes into the stormwater system.
He's really one of the leaders in sustainability and in building green buildings that has taken Portland leading the nation in that effort.
It's the completion of the picture of all that we could have done here, and it's kind of saving the best for last, because when it is completed, which is just a couple of months from now, it will be a magical building.
A lot to do yet, huh?
We're getting there.
Well, you are getting there. It's really looking great. It's going to be a beautiful place. Just look at all the old bones of the building, the big bow trusses that you can see, and the National Historic people are very excited about us, you know, showing the space. So they were afraid that when we did this that you wouldn't get a sense of how big it was inside. Well, I think you get a real sense of it. I think we accomplished that.
I sit here today, and I've been married. This year this is our 47th year, so it's only a couple of years short of 50 years. And we've had our ups and downs like anybody, but we have done so many things together and been through so much together. My daughter's name is Sean Marie, and my son's name is Eric. And it's Eric with a K, Norwegian. So we had to make sure that it was a K. You still, you know, do things that later on you wish you hadn't, and you think, well, gosh, I could have been a better parent about this or that. But they've forgiven me those things, and they've been really great the last 10 years or so. They think I'm really great. And I said, well, thank you, thank you. Well, I look at the South Waterfront as the future and the potential of whole new ways of doing business and thinking about how we live. So it's the 21st century, and all of the things that we've learned and all the other things we've done have been incorporated there.
You know, as a businessman, he always pursued unusual projects that were full of what I refer to as brain damage. Not the simple things. They were always one-off deals. A lot of them joint ventures with the city. That took a special kind of genius to bring about.
He stands out as someone who took calculated risks for the benefit of the city, his company, and all of those, fortunate enough to be on the team.
You know, there's a word that always comes to mind for me, and it almost doesn't do Bob justice. The word is visionary.
Somehow that ability to take complex problems and figure them out with a kind of joy and a kind of open curiosity is just extraordinary.
So, Bob, thank you for everything. I admire your work, and I miss working with you.